Have you ever wondered what was out there in the night sky? Stared up at the stars in the hopes of seeing something out of the ordinary? Have you ever heard unexplainable noises coming from a vacant room, or watched a shadow cross the wall in front of you? Have you asked yourself if there's life after this one, or if you had life before? What about strange creatures that are mythical and elusive? Have you experienced deja vu, or felt a prompting to leave because you felt you were in danger? What if tomorrow you were on the fringe? Welcome to another episode of On the Fringe. I'm Philip.
And I'm Mark.
And again tonight, ladies, we have our part-time permanent co-hosts, Pam and Jess. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a while since we've all been together, between being sick and everything else. It's been crazy.
It's been a crazy month or so.
It has.
We've been trying to do this show tonight for a month now, since everything fired off. I think we started
at least
talking
a month,
about it.
yeah.
It's been weird. I mean, it's been crazy. Everybody's been sick. I mean, I haven't been in there, mentally and all that good stuff, which isn't saying much, but yeah, we've been trying to get this show done for a month now, since everything fired up with the whole Chinese balloons and the UFOs and all that stuff. And finally we're here to do it. And there's actually more to add to it. So hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll move on. And, again, obviously, like we do every show, we start out, hey, do us a favor, go check us out at our website, whatiftomorrowmedia.com. We got our affiliates over there. We have Conflicted the Game, EMP Shield, which may not be a bad thing right now, especially with all these solar storms they're talking about going on. I know I've seen reports they were seeing the northern lights all the way down to Topeka here over the weekend. So that may not be a bad thing if you think about the Carrington event. It didn't have to be a nuclear attack. We've talked about, go back to one of our first awful episodes and listen to that one. The information, I think, was better than some of the information we put out now. Yeah, EMP Shield, My Patriot Supply, another good thing that's going on. Now's the time. With everything going on in the economy, you guys have heard us harp on this on the What If Tomorrow podcast. Do yourself a favor, get some food insurance. Even if it's just for a few days to get you by with everything that's going on. It's crazy, and it's just seems to be getting faster. I'm missing one, Mark. What am I missing? Duke Cannon.
Duke Cannon.
Yeah, Duke Cannon. Definitely. Love their stuff. I've used it since before they became our affiliates, and I'm looking at another affiliate, like I mentioned last week, that you can use your HSA card with. So keep a lookout for them. And also do us a favor. I mean, if you don't want to support the affiliates, all that good stuff, do us a favor, buy us a coffee.
Yeah.
It's like $5, support the show, all that good stuff. Anyway, moving on, tonight we're talking about Project Bluebeam, with all the UFOs that were popping up towards the first part of February. We got to think, it's like, man, we need it, because you started hearing chatter of it and seeing comments and stuff like that. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
You started hearing chatter of, is this Project Bluebeam? And you kind of have to question with all the things that are going on. Then you start looking into it and you're like, man, I don't know. And is it a possibility? Absolutely. I believe it is. But if you're not familiar,
the number of conspiracies that's come true just this year has been unreal. So yes, it is a conspiracy theory, but I mean, who are you going to trust? I don't trust anybody anymore.
That's the problem is you don't know what to trust. I've seen so many deep fakes out there. You're like, man, is that real? Is that not? And there's just something a little bit off, not much, but a little bit.
They're getting really good with it.
You're getting really good.
Yeah. Real quick, just a real quick summary. Canadian journalist and conspiracy theorist. I mean, they always throw that in there. It was a term coined by the CIA in the 50s or 60s to try to throw you off the trail.
Discredit. Yep.
And hold on, we got some. Well, man, where's it at? We got some people showing up on Facebook users. I'm trying to find out who they are. There we go.
And while he's checking that, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and maybe make a comment. That'll help us grow our channel.
Definitely, we're kind of leaning more that way. I'm way behind on getting episodes out on streaming or on the podcast format. Well, heck, trying to see who all these people are.
I got it pulled up here. Hang on, let me see.
There we go.
Andrea's one, and George Johnson.
George.
And
hey, all right.
And Leon.
Yeah.
Hey guys. But yeah, with Project Bluebeam, I mean, I'll go back into it. It says Canadian journalist and conspiracy theorist Serge Monast first developed the theory in 1994 before publishing his beliefs in a book entitled Project Bluebeam. The theory suggests NASA and the United Nations are planning to create a new world order by using technology, simulated mind control to shape a global New Age religion. Mr. Monast believed generating a global New Age religion was the only thing that would make a worldwide dictatorship possible. Speaking at a presentation in 1994, he speculated that Project Bluebeam would be carried out in 4 different steps. And we'll break into this here through the show, but just a quick summary. Step 1, the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. Step 2, a gigantic space with 3D holographic laser projections. Step 3, telepathic two-way communication. And step 4, universal supernatural manifestations using electronics means. Now, in that, I can't pinpoint everything that's happening, but I'm starting to see some things are happening, some things are questionable. I don't know if you guys would agree with that or not.
Definitely working on the new world religion. It's called global warming.
Yeah.
Climate change. Because there are people who, despite any facts you give them, will fight you on it. It's become a religious movement unto itself.
Now, this to me seems more realistic. This is a different website article on it, hitc.com. The theory allegedly has 4 main objectives: to abolish all Christian traditional religions in order to replace them with a one world religion based on the cult of man. 2 is to abolish the family as known today in order to replace it with individuals all working for the glory of a one world government. 3, to destroy all individual artistic and scientific creating works to implement a world government's one mind sight. And 4, to abolish all national identity and national pride in order to establish a world identity and world pride. That's in our face every day.
Yeah, every day on the news.
Jess, is that what you were talking about before the show?
What about what?
The second part of his
Toronto Protocols.
The Toronto Protocols. Those papers are from the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was going to say, I'm going to interject really quick before you guys go on. You were talking about a new basis of religion. I really looked into that to see if they were shooting for a particular type of religion or a new kind of religion, or if religion didn't even mean like a particular religion at all, or just maybe a new sense of thinking of things. And it's that last one. They were basing it supposedly off of the cult of man, which was invented by this crazy German dude. And basically, the cult of man is basically kind of what's happening right now with people becoming more selfish. It's all about me. you can't tell me how I'm going to think, but you have to think the way that I think, or I will cancel you. My health is more important than anything, so I'm going to drop all responsibilities if it doesn't line up with what's going to take care of me. That's what this religion is like. So it kind of works.
Yeah, and it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Some of the things I've seen on it. Let's just run down the list real quick. Like step one is a breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. The theory suggests that they'll set up earthquakes in ancient lands, and then apparently they will find new archaeological artifacts that not necessarily disprove, but kind of turn that the old religions in a different way. And they come out and say something along the lines of, hey, this isn't what we were taught through these religions, but this is what this means, or a reinterpretation or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm having a hard time with because I don't see that yet. I see the earthquakes. Could it be possible? I mean, are they natural? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely.
They seem to be natural from
They do.
everything that I have seen, because that was one that I was really interested in too, because the archaeological portion of it really interests me. But yeah, if they're bringing something about because of those specific earthquakes, I haven't seen it yet. Doesn't mean they haven't. Just I haven't seen it.
I don't know. A lot of people are thinking that they're using the harp weapon to trigger these, of course. And if you go and look, it's a little suspicious. A lot of the earthquakes and like the big tsunamis and stuff have that weird pink cloud crap that comes along with it that they say is triggered by the harp machine. So, but of course, natural disasters, hashtag, or like natural in quotations there, can be started for all sorts of reasons besides just whatever this little plan might be, if that's what's happening.
Right. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, can we say to me, they're not actually going in order of their plan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
I think it's kind of mix and match, whatever's convenient at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Never waste a
opportunity.
Opportunity. Yeah. Never waste.
Never let a crisis go to waste. So I think, they're taking advantage of any situation. How much the UFOs have been in the news in the last 10 years. Is it part of Blue Beam? That's anybody's guess.
Is it just a distraction?
Right.
That's what I wonder what's really going on if they're, because they have distracted us from UFO sightings for so long. Now to say, oh, looky, what's worse that they're trying to distract from.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then to come out here, what was it? Let me find it real quick. Yeah. This was from the Military Times on March 9th. Pentagon's UFO chief says alien mothership in our solar system is possible. Was it a distraction? I mean, look at all the stuff that's going on. It changes every day. It's crazy. You can't keep up with it.
Is it a distraction, or maybe is it that they are actually our crap and they're trying to build this up to whatever this is that they're going to do to put on the show, hypothetically speaking?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's possible.
Yeah, you look at the secret space force. According to that, we got all kinds of crap out there.
Yeah, it that hits home for me a little bit, because you guys know, I mean, the one thing I always say, like since the beginning of all this UFO government bullcrap, I've always said, what's the end? What's their end game? What's the point of all of this? That all of a sudden, all of this is just coming to fruition, and they're just so very happy about sharing everything with us. And then suddenly they're showing us all these things that they're catching, So, that's a little sticky when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would make sense if they are the ones that are making it seem like it's amping up, not implying at all that I think any of this is true, of course, but
right.
You just don't
that's
know
when we think
anymore.
about it.
No,
Yeah.
nobody knows.
Well, and that's another. I'm not going to say theory because it's happening if you talk to anybody, but it's another tool they're using. They, as in the powers that be, whoever this one world government or New World Order or World Economic Forum, to me, they're all kind of one and the same. They may be different organizations, but they still have the same end in mind. But that's part of their game, is to sow distrust in the government, to sow distrust in the news agencies, to sow distrust in individuals. And to me, that's working.
Oh
yeah, it absolutely
all
is.
over the place. Nobody trusts anyone anymore.
No.
And
that's. I don't even trust me anymore.
I read one really interesting article. I didn't know what to think of it because every point they laid down made sense, but it went against everything that I thought was true. So, you have that kind of inside battle with yourself. But I read an entire article where they were disproving that CERN had ever found the God particle.
God particle.
That it was all just a part of the sham. That was one of their things to take apart our science or, our religion and prove that the beginning of time was just a science thing and, blah, 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 blah. And I don't have it on me, but point by point by point, they were just knocking this stuff down that's been going on since 2012. And I was just like,
and see, but that's
it's
not
hard.
Because so many people have such a closed mind anymore. The ability to actually look at a new theory, look at a new thought, and be able to entertain it long enough to say yay, nay, or maybe, that's something that a lot of people have lost.
Yeah. Well, they don't teach it. They don't teach it in school anymore.
No.
How to make basic decisions based on the evidence in front of you. They don't teach it anymore.
Yeah, they don't teach.
Which really is what it should all be about, is to teach you how to learn. You were talking about CERN. I was watching a video on a lady the other day who works at CERN, and she said this got me because she was talking about the God particle, and she's like, everybody takes that word wrong, which I've always taken it to mean the God particle. And she said it was actually originally coined to be the goddammit particle. And I'm like, interesting. And they just shortened it to the God particle.
Did they say a reason why?
I'll have to find that again to figure that out. But I think it was because it was such a frustrating thing. They were just like, it's the goddammit particle, as opposed to the God particle.
Yeah, that sounds better than the goddammit particle.
Yeah, exactly. It's more palatable than the goddammit particle. I'll see if I can find it.
I can remember. Well, I once walked on water, so what does that make me? just one word, snakes. That's all I need to tell you.
That'll do it. And another thing with the UFOs, with this whole, one of the big drivers, obviously, like we talked about, is trying to coerce people into one world religion. In a quote from Manas, he says the show will consist of a laser projection of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different message according to the predominating religion or national religious faith. Meaning, so here would probably be Christ or something like that. Or if you go to Saudi Arabia, it would be Muhammad. Like that. And I can't help but wonder, there's some pretty crazy technology out there.
There is.
But I can't help but wonder if we are up to that speed yet, where where they can project holographic images. Now I can see it through VR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
then
frankly,
here we go.
we don't know what they can do. We have
True.
no clue.
Good point.
True.
Very good
And
point.
one of the thoughts though that crossed my mind is, and I'm 50-50 on it, but this whole chemtrail theory. You know, they're supposedly spraying these metals and stuff in the atmosphere. And I remember years ago when the holographic thing started coming out, it was basically a mirror that spun so fast that you couldn't see the mirror, but it looked like the image was there. And I'm like, well, if these metals are in the atmosphere, it's reflective. Could it be something like that? I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought.
That was what I was always under the impression, that it was something of that nature. But then you read this stuff and you're like, is that really what it was?
Right.
Or hear me out. Do they even have to project anything anymore? Because everybody has got their head so far up their butts with the phones.
Yes,
And
that's what I was getting ready to say.
Good point. Good point.
all they have to do is put a TikTok up and says, "Oh my gosh, look at this."
Yeah.
Everybody will believe it.
TikTok looking for this certain thing.
Right.
Yeah. So like I don't think it's going to be actually like in the sky in front of us. Like everybody's going to be called out to their front lawns to witness this in the sky. I think it's all going to be digital. And I had mentioned backstage before we came on that I'd been reading the Toronto Protocols, which is something else that Serge Manasse put out back in the 60s that he supposedly came into. And there's an entire section on how they intended on taking over all sorts of digital, starting back from when they supposedly started the World Wide Web, this group did. And how they were going to slowly take over it. And it's literally a step-by-step of how things started out with the World Wide Web and how it's gone through and how technology has taken over and we've become so addicted to it. And this was put back out in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scarily accurate. It's scary, scary, scary accurate. So I'm sure that if any of this is true at all, that I don't think they have any intentions of it being in the sky when you go out in your front lawn and, you know, watch the festivities.
I don't think they'll have to go to the trouble.
Yeah, nobody goes outside anymore.
Yeah, I think it's going to show up on news channels and TVs and your phone. You know, big announcement. Look what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean,
well, look, all they have to do is throw out like an Amber Alert sort of thing that hits every phone at the same time.
Yeah.
And you've got the AI stuff creating digital stuff you can't tell from real.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of goes right along with what we're talking about in the sky. You know, I mean, this was in 2015. This was that city in the clouds in China. You know, a lot of people were saying it was a particular cloud formation. I don't know what to believe. I mean, I don't think anybody really does.
It looks like a mirage.
Test run. It does. It absolutely does.
It does, yeah.
Maybe a reflection from the city below or something like that. I don't know, but I found it interesting, you know, because a lot of people are thinking, you know, this may have been a test run in 2015 to see if they can make it work.
Well, it might be. Who knows?
I don't remember. Do you recall what the story was that they put behind that? That it was a mirage, but I don't remember what their explanation was of how it was made.
Well, a mirage is basically a naturally occurring hologram, isn't
it? Pretty much, yeah. But I don't remember what they said caused it, what played into causing that.
I'll have to look into that.
I'm looking it up real quick. We'll see what they say. Yeah, they're saying it's a mirage. Here's National Geographic. Says, so I can find. Oh, dang it! I don't want to sign in.
Nat Geo is the word.
Yeah. I love it when they try to make me pay to read an article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're scamming me.
Yeah.
Speaking of scams, has anybody noticed the large number of people trying to get you to send them a friend request whenever you make a post on Facebook?
Yeah.
If anybody is getting those, do not click on them.
Yep.
It is
Turn them in and
bad.
block them.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is off CNN. After analyzing, meteorologists claim that the video was actually a fake, saying that the natural environment in the location makes it impossible to form such atmospheric phenomena. The broadcaster reported. Says now it is also possible that it was a real mirage. Something called a Fata Morgana has been behind some weird sightings throughout the ages and is often called on to explain ships that seem to float above the water or distorted shapes over the horizon. So
I mean, and those do happen. That is a real phenomenon. It's not magic. It's not science. Well, it is explainable by science, but they're also very hard to reproduce.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've seen cities that were actually hundreds of miles away floating out in the desert just because of atmospheric conditions. It happens. So,
yeah, it said, well, we're still on step 2, the holographic laser projections. Mr. Monast says, from the depths of space, astonished followers from various creeds will witness their own returned Messiah in spectacularly convincing lifelike realness. Mr. Monast said all of these depictions of the Messiah would then merge into one. This one God will in fact be the Antichrist, who will explain the various scriptures have been misunderstood, that the religions are responsible for turning brother against brother, nation against nation. Therefore, the world's religions must be abolished to make way for the golden age. So,
from a logical standpoint, I can see the point.
And did you read about what was going to happen to the people who refused to step in line?
I did not. Probably kill you.
They're going to put them in concentration camps.
No,
basically, they didn't say concentration camps, but a concentration camp.
Yeah,
pretty much what it is. Yeah.
If you refuse,
they were talking about doing that with people who refused to take the COVID boosters.
Yep.
Exactly.
There was a plan for that.
And that's the other scary thing about this. All throughout this, there was supposed to be leaders and consequences to these steps that they were taking, and the list is eerily like what's going on right now. They said people would fall into deep depressions, electronic currency would take over, food and water supply would become government controlled, wars would start to break out, causing reduction in world population, weather patterns would start to be manipulated, earthquakes, crop yields would be bad, epidemics would suddenly begin.
Boy, that sounds like our news in the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the last 2 or 3 days.
Exactly. And then they were talking about how they were going to enforce a change in society while this is all happening too. And it's eerily close too, because they were saying we're going to use the media to invade privacy using phones and blah, 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 and the web. And we're going to use this all to our benefit.
Of course they will.
I mean, they've done that for years, though. I remember when all of our cell phones, you could pull the back off and pull the battery out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was watching. I can't remember what I was watching. It was like a news talk show type thing, and they had these FBI, CIA guys on, and they were talking about how they can track you, they can monitor your conversations. This is before the whole Edward Snowden NSA thing blew up. And he was talking about, he said the best way to prevent all this is to, when you're not using your phone, is before it was about the time everybody started getting really attached to their phones, when they had, before they had everything on your phone. Mm-hmm. And he said the best way you can handle this and prevent this is to pull your battery out of your phone when you're not using it. how many phones now can you pull the battery out of?
Can't. Yeah.
You can't.
You
Samsung
can,
used
but
to be able to. I
you've
don't
got
know
to
if you
get
still
like a
can.
track phone or something like that.
Yeah.
You definitely can an iPhone.
Yeah.
No,
you can't.
my phone is glued together.
Yeah, the phone thing scares me. I mean, just about everybody you know has a phone, and the reason for that is even when phones were still a little on the expensive side and not everybody had one of them, what happened? Obama and stuff started giving out all the free phones. You know,
Yep.
show up at this booth at the Dollar General and get your phone.
I got my Obama phone.
Yeah. Yep. And they're still pushing the whole
Yeah, everybody needs a
whole
phone.
thing.
Everybody needs a phone.
Yep. It's amazing.
You know what's
I'm
fun
guilty of
though?
it.
Flip phones are starting to come back in now, though, which is hilarious. I think.
But see, I don't know that I'll ever go back to one because I like having my phone.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to, but some of the younger kids are wanting flip phones. Now.
I'm
I think it's
addicted
like
to
bell
Kindle.
bottoms. I think
Yeah.
flip phones are like bell
That's a-
bottoms. They're a horrible idea, but they just keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in. It tells you where we're at as a society because of the inconvenience of flipping a phone up to answer it.
Oh my gosh! Well, the inconvenience of texting on them,
yeah.
Using your
the
watch.
inconvenience.
You just hit the button on my watch and answer
Or
the
learning
phone.
how to text without looking down because and I don't want to go back to that. No.
And it's amazing, because we're all of the generation. Hey, Alicia, we're all of the generation to where this was for rich people. The bag phones were for rich people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a home phone growing up.
I did. We had one phone in the house and it had like a 50-foot cord.
Yep.
When
that
you try
had
to call
30 tangles in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we had the detanglers that spun on both ends so they would.
Yeah.
It hung on the wall in the kitchen.
My wife said it'd be nice to actually be able to hang up on people again and feel like it means something.
Yeah, to slam it down. Oh, I know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
send the kids over to the neighbors because you were on a party line, had to have the neighbor hang up their phone that they forgot to hang up.
But yeah, I mean, from Liberty, where I grew up at, to Coffeyville, which is like 9 miles, was a long distance phone call.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about how far we've come.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, maybe we're of the age now. I don't know, but I remember thinking about my parents and the stuff that they've seen. I don't know that with what we will see in our lifetime, it'll blow what our parents have seen out of the water, technology wise.
Yeah.
Because it advances so fast.
Well, and I want to have a show about this later, but did you see the post I put up about saying they're 10 years away from testing cold sleep chambers for astronauts?
Oh, I did see that. That's freaky.
I saw it. I hadn't read it yet, but yeah.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
It's from space.com, so it's probably something to it.
Yeah. I need a nap, but not that bad.
Only if I wake up 15 years younger.
But what is that going to do? I mean, I know we're on a tangent, but what is that going to do mentally?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We don't
know.
They have no idea.
Yeah, they have no clue.
They
You
can
can
wake up
come
and
out
be
mad as a hatter.
vegetables, basically.
Yeah.
It almost makes me wonder if that's why they talk about freezing people now, when they die, just here. Because I know, was it Walt Disney that had his head frozen, or was it his whole body?
No, that was a fib.
Cryo.
It's an urban legend.
Oh,
no, it's an urban legend.
That's funny.
But lots of people have been frozen.
Yeah, they have. Okay, so I didn't find the story, but I found another thing. It's from Business Insider. The story goes, this is back to the God particle. The story goes that Nobel Prize winning physicist Leon Letterman referred to the Higgs as the goddamn particle. The nickname was meant to poke fun at how difficult it was to detect the particle. It took nearly a half a century and a multi-billion-dollar particle accelerator to do it. That's why they called it that. And then it shortened to the God particle.
That's funny.
Interesting. It only took me half an hour, but
there you go.
Dog with a bone. I had to find it.
All right, moving on. Step 3, the telepathic two-way communication. I think that's a thing.
I do.
Through microwaves. I think some of it has something to do with MK Ultra. You know, because if you look, all these weird and crazy things came about in the 60s. You know, maybe late 50s, early 60s. MK Ultra, you know, Project Bluebeam, Project Blue Book, all these different things.
Yeah, I mean, they were into all kinds of crazy stuff, and that stuff just didn't go away.
No.
Have you seen the? It's basically a weapon. They've weaponized sound. They can point this device at you and put a sound in your ears, and nobody can hear it but you.
Right.
They can.
Well, look at the humming that they were talking about that was driving people absolutely insane. That was coming from the Ukraine. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
That they were talking about. It looked like they were testing weapons.
Well, and they tested that. The Russians actually tested a weapon like that on the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, I believe, if I'm not misremembering.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So
yeah. You know, just said it's believed that NASA will use low frequency radio waves to telepathically communicate with humans in an attempt to shape their beliefs to match those taught by New Age religion. That's there. That's here. In one shape or another, like you guys were saying earlier, you know, with technology.
Oh yeah.
How many people, especially kids? I mean, we're all pretty well set in our ways, in our beliefs. We understand where our beliefs come from. We know what we believe, and we're willing to back up what we believe. That doesn't say we're not so closed-minded that we're not letting our beliefs be challenged.
Well, that's part of being human.
Right. But how many people, and like I've said many times, you know, I read comments on news articles and all that. I mean, I love reading comments. And sometimes it makes me mad because I see these people that are so, what I feel, blinded. And they're following the talking heads and not thinking for themselves. And we see it. We see it every day. We see it happen.
Yeah. There's brainwashing going on actively in the world right now through our technology. I was actually had a discussion today at work with a guy. He could not believe that people would follow something like the Koresh guy. Well, how do people do that? And I said, it's brainwashing. Well, you can't do that. And yeah, you can. It happens every day, every time you watch the TV, because they're not your friend.
Historically, how many times has that happened? More than, and these
all
were
the time. Brainwashing is relatively simple.
These were level-headed people too.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened in Nazi Germany. I mean,
they had a whole compound
I'm gonna
set up as a resort to do that.
I'm gonna throw something out there. Agree, disagree. I mean, that's up to you guys. But I contend that we're all brainwashed.
Oh, I agree. To some extent,
From
yes.
When we're kids, we follow our parents. We look at their beliefs. We learn their beliefs. We may not understand why we believe that way. But we're all brainwashed to some extent.
We are a programmable flesh robot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
some
I'm
of
not
us
saying
just
it's a
wake
bad
up, though. Some of us wake up as we get older.
And I agree.
And you start
that's
to
where
realize.
You start to question.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just going back to what I said before. They're not teaching critical thinking in class anymore. And we were taught that, and we may have followed what our parents had said all along, you know, whatever they said was truth, or, you know, we're the product of our environment. But somewhere along the way, that switch is flipped. And you're like, wait a minute. Now, I don't completely agree with what my mom said, or I don't completely, you know. But kids nowadays, the kids coming up into their 20s and stuff, don't have this critical thinking.
No,
to be able to say, whatever was told to me when I was younger may not be the absolute truth. Maybe I
Right.
should look into this more. Maybe I should do some research. Or even if they think maybe I should do some research, they'll go straight to the internet and the first few pages they find must be the
Right.
God honest truth.
They don't know how to act
So,
research.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're take what's ever served to them in a spoon on TikTok videos.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
Alicia said there are people that literally believe the Holocaust never happened. Talk about being
yes.
brainwashed. Yes.
That's
Mhm.
insane. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I personally have met a person who went through it. So, I mean,
Well, look at people that believe the earth is flat. How in the
Mhm.
hell do you come to that conclusion? You know?
yeah, you can
Seriously.
go to a high enough building, you can see the curve of the earth.
Yeah. You fly in
Yeah.
an airplane, you're definitely going to see it.
Those
Yeah.
fisheye lenses.
I had mentioned in one of the earlier podcasts, I don't remember which one it was for, but I had found out that like 60% of children think that Anne Frank is a science fiction.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
insane.
They
Wow.
thought it was just a made up story that it, you know,
And that's
they're still
truly
teaching
sad.
it's still in schools. It's still being used as a book that they learn in school, but these kids aren't even being taught that it was real. They're just literally like, read this book. It's in your lineup of books to read.
I remember so my youngest son, he turned a year old September 1st in 2001. And then, everybody knows what happened on the 11th,
Mhm.
2001. It was surprising. You don't think about it until they're a little bit older. That's the only world they ever knew. They didn't know the world
Right.
before 9/11. And I remember, I think they were in 6th grade, and we'd picked them up from school, and I was like, hey, what did you guys do? Because it was 9/11. And it was like, what? And they didn't even talk about it. He's like, they didn't understand what the big deal was about it. And I was floored because it was only,
Yeah, it was
not
still
even,
fresh in your mind. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely fresh. But to them, it's not the same. They didn't grow up in
Yeah,
that.
the impact of that when we talk about it
Yes.
still just kicks me in the gut.
Hmm.
It's
But
been
they didn't have that because it's always been there. So it wasn't
right.
as effective for them. And, now these kids are in their early 20s, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
My
leaned
brother,
on.
he said he
Yeah.
met a man in Israel that survived the Holocaust. He said tattoos and all was a great history lesson. I'm guessing he meant great, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean that's what's amazing is about. I recommend to anybody to go to other countries, other places, and look at their history and see. We're not being taught the entire history. What
Mhm.
we're being taught what they want us to know,
Exactly.
and it's more and more common. It seems uh, to push an agenda now. When I would prefer seeing, use your mind. Think about things. I mean, think it through. Understand why. And I've always tried to teach my kids this. It's okay to believe something, but ask yourself why you believe that.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And I would recommend that for everybody. Question what you believe in, because
I-
then you know it's sound or not.
Yes, and I always
Yeah.
encourage, don't go with just one news source,
Right.
and don't go with just one news source or any amount of news sources within the United States. Look out too, see what other
Oh
countries are
yeah.
reporting and saying. I was surprised. My ex-husband is Dutch, and when we would look at the Telegraph was the big newspaper over there, and I had a passing understanding of Dutch, but it was easier for me just to have it translated into English because you could hit the little cool translate button. And the way the world views us is way different than how we view ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My wife said she had a German foreign exchange student in her American history class in high school. She said that the Holocaust did not happen. He was never taught that in Germany. He chose to sit out in the hall during that part of the class.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
see,
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was in. Oh, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
They don't hardly teach about us interring the Japanese over World War II anymore.
Nope.
You
Yeah, you
tell
don't-
people we did that, and they look at you like,
Yeah.
you would never do that.
George Takai, he is very vocal about the fact that his family, his father, wasn't he a doctor or something? They lost everything and they were put into a camp. And they were American citizens, but they were.
There are people today who tell you it never happened.
Yeah, no, it did.
Well, when I was in Japan in 1999, at the time they had just corrected history, because up until I want to say 98 or so, the Japanese were taught that Pearl Harbor was in retaliation for Hiroshima.
Wow.
So, I mean, who knows? Who knows the correct history?
Yeah. Are we being taught the right thing?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a young college graduate teacher, and I said something in relationship to history, and he looked at me like, I've never heard of that. And I was just floored. It just like, what do you mean you've never heard of that? That was important.
Yeah. It happens all the time. Raven had some problems with some teachers. She brought up some places on the map that they told her didn't exist. One of them was Prussia. They made fun of her in front of the class and told her to quit making up countries.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And I don't even blame the teacher on that one. The teacher obviously was not taught.
Right. These younger teachers, they don't know anything.
They don't know but what has been stuck in front of them and told for them to teach. I mean, some of them literally just, they have that teacher's manual that they go by and they teach it verbatim what comes out of it. And they learn the week beforehand what they're going to be teaching the next week.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. They're just regurgitating whatever's going to be on the test so that the kids can pass their standards. Terribly enough.
And how often do those kids remember that?
Oh, it was, you know what? Not my kid. Because when she came home and told me what happened, I set her own homework and I put her up on the internet and I set her down with some books because I'm old fashioned. And she wrote a report on the history of Prussia. And then she took it back in, and one copy went to the principal, and one copy went to the vice principal, and one copy went to the teacher, and the other copy stayed with me. And sadly, she put that folder down on the teacher's desk, and the teacher took 2 looks at it, smirked, and threw it in the trash can.
Nice.
Yeah, I took her home that day because she was in tears. Because then the teacher made fun of her again for making up countries. Yeah. It was terrible.
That's nuts.
So
yeah, and the hilarious
you can
thing,
easily look it up on Google, and I know that teacher had a cell phone. They could have looked it right up there on their computer and go, "Oh,
100%."
Yeah,
but they're not going to admit their own ignorance.
Yeah, the hilarious thing was literally right across from that classroom was a teacher that I had in high school, an older teacher. And she had kind of befriended my daughter, and she went to her classroom, after that incident happened, to talk to her. And she was like, I don't even know what to tell you, honey. We're just going to let it go. And you and I both know we're right, so at least she had that there, an older teacher that still.
The sad part is look at all the kids that were being taught incorrectly, though. And they
don't know they were taught incorrectly.
No, they don't know.
No. But they were sure as heck taught to laugh at anybody who has a different opinion.
Exactly.
Right.
And and that's what they're taught in college now. That's what teachers are being taught in college. And that's part of what we're talking about, is they're trying to shape the structure of the world, and they're ridiculing people who remember the truth.
It's crazy.
It is.
Yep. All right. We'll circle back around.
We're out in the weeds again. Pull us back in.
That's all right.
Yeah, we get in the weeds awful lot.
Yeah. Chris said a great education system we have. She said it's no wonder kids are the way they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, but it's I feel like it's intentional.
It is. I believe it is.
I believe it's what we're talking about.
Yep. Makes them more, I don't know, makes them not able to critically think through situations. Step 4, universal supernatural manifestations using electronic means. Says the final step of Project Bluebeam is to create a chaotic event that will leave people willing or desperate enough to accept the New World Order. Banking collapse, anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Economic
Giant
collapse,
UFO
anybody?
landing in Washington.
Yeah.
You know, what have you?
Says Mr. Manas said this could occur with up to 3 different orientations. One is to make mankind believe that an alien invasion is about to strike down or reach major city of the Earth.
Look at the news.
Mothership in the solar system.
Mhm.
The second is to make the Christians believe that a major rapture, or believe to a major rapture with the supposedly divine intervention of an alleged good alien force coming to save the people from a brutal satanic attack. And then the third orientation in the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. The goal of this one deals with global satanic ghosts all around the world in order to push all population on the edge to drown in a wave of suicide, killing, and permanent psychological disorder.
That number 2, where you were talking about was it number 2? Talking about like good aliens coming down to help.
Yeah.
Makes me think back to that Twilight Zone episode. Was it Serving Man? I can't remember the name of the episode, but they thought that they were giving them a book to show them how to help man, and it was actually a cookbook of how to cook man.
Yeah, I remember that one. I was like,
that was a good one.
I'll have to check that.
And it was
one out.
too late.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I love old Twilight Zone episodes.
They made you think.
Best.
Yeah,
you won't find that on television these days. You won't find anything that makes you think.
But I could see how people could fall for this easily. A major disaster, a major collapse, World War III, so much devastation. You know, I mean, that's all you hear about is World War III.
Train derailment,
train derailments, causing so much chaos that people are they're tired of it. You know, there's been so many people killed in war. Oh yeah, Chris, absolutely. I haven't seen that in years. Talking about alien invasion, I want to rewatch V. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
that is such a good one.
Such a good,
I like that. Yeah,
the old 80s miniseries. I will never forget, man. The first time I was a kid when I watched it, you know, it was all I remember is the guys eating the mice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. When they finally bit them, you can see that they were marshmallow mice.
Yeah.
They were like gray peeps.
They were peeps. Meeps. They were meeps.
But I can see them causing so much pain and pressure through anything they're causing. I mean, can I prove that what happened in Ohio, you know, East Palestine was an accident, or can I prove it was a government psyop or whatever? No, I can't prove either way. Can we prove any of these train derailments or anything like that are a government psyop or accidental? Can't prove it either way.
No,
because nobody believes anything they hear. Nobody trusts anything they hear.
Well, and part of it is, have you noticed this weird? Like last year, we had all these food places burned down, and it was one right after another. And what do we have this year? It's train derailments. One right after another, right after another. It's like they get a script and they get stuck on it for a whole year. If they wanted it to be believable, they'd shake it up. But I find it far beyond coincidence that we can have just strings of the same thing all in the same year. Then it changes year and the string changes to something new. I find it beyond belief that it's all a coincidence.
Right. And is it intentional though? You know, I mean, even if it's accidental, but even I lost my train of thought. Apologize. Even if it's accidental, they're combining all these and letting people know about this. Is it to sow distrust? and make people think, hey, this isn't right.
Or was it engineered over a long term by specifically not maintaining rail lines and
Right.
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, that's the hard part, is trying to decipher whether this is real or whether it's BS.
And then you hear where specific safeguards were rolled back in the last administration too. Is that the cause of this? Where does it come from? There's so much derision on either side. You don't know what to believe.
Nobody can have an honest conversation anymore.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Not
It's always
he said,
she said.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm guilty of it. I know everybody here is once in a while. But I try to keep an open mind. I try to consider other options. But people don't even try to keep an open mind anymore about things. It's all my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know. And is that intentional? I think that's intentional.
I 100% believe that sowing seeds of discord on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look at us from the outside of the United States. We're at each other's throats. Our country's burning to the ground. Who's taking glee in that?
Yeah.
There's
the house divided.
The people trying to create the new world order, because they got to divide everybody against themselves so that they can come in, swoop, and save the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like I said earlier, it's that cult of man. It's down to the letter how this was, how it was planned out. We're going to take a society that's going to become very, very selfish. Mm-hmm. It's going to be not about all of us anymore. It's going to be about me.
And take care of me. And it has.
Mm-hmm.
It has.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
Especially ever since these became super popular.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have you heard? I mean, or the videos that you've seen somebody hurting, or one I heard was there was a guy drowning and people just sat there and videotaped it.
Nobody jumped in
going out and trying to help the man.
You know what's interesting for you to say that, and this may be where you're pulling that from too, Phil, is Eric had texted me the other day and was like, holy cow, did you know that in China that they're just updating their version of the Good Samaritan law? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I said, as far as I knew, it used to be if you stopped and helped someone, you would be held financially responsible for them. And he was like, yes, that's exactly it. And he said the reason they're rolling it back is for what, like you said, there was a man that nearly drowned and about 30 people stood around and watched him. No one wanted to help because no one wanted the financial responsibility that would come from assisting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was in England or something like that.
Or being sued for failing to save them.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Well, even
the opposite there.
That's even kind of happening here now. It's like that dude that got sued for saving that dude that was having a heart attack. He broke one of his ribs doing the CPR on him to bring him back. And he sued him and won.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to sue my rescuer that saved my life.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah.
We have become such a sue-happy country.
If you're not
unfortunately, though,
chest, you're not doing it right.
Right. Unfortunately, though, if the guy that got sued comes upon that situation again, do you think he's going to help save somebody?
He's just going to keep on walking.
Yeah.
And you can't.
My brother put it. He said it's trying to control the population of the government control. Alicia said social media is a big factor in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's how they get to everybody.
Yep.
And that's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
You guys see how often I really pay attention to Facebook. I get on, I throw up all over it, and I get off.
Yeah. I'm hardly ever on it.
Yeah.
Facebook's the only one I'll stay on. And this is why. Now, I know a lot of people hate Facebook, but Facebook is one of the few platforms that you can control pretty much what falls into your feed. Mm-hmm. The minute something starts falling into your feed that you don't care for or is religious or anti blah, 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 or blah, 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 you can literally click it out and move it out of your algorithm. and just keep friends and families post on
Mhm.
there. And an occasional, maybe a topic that you like to see stuff on, like, I like pink furniture.
Well, you need to
But
do
when it
what you're
comes to
doing,
things
but
like
that doesn't seem to work for me.
when it comes to like TikTok and Instagram and all these other ones, they literally anything can fall into your folders and onto your walls, just one right after the other.
I
I
do
don't
use
care for
TikTok a
it.
lot. I do use TikTok a lot. And there are ways that you can weed that stuff out. There's a For You page. That's where you're going to see
Mhm.
pretty much anything. If you move it to your follow, that's where you're going to see what you want to see. And then you also have the option to click on, if you don't care for what's coming through your feed, you can say, I don't want to see this. And that will help change
Mhm.
your algorithm too.
Yeah.
But they're all the same, all the social media
Yeah,
platforms.
they're all touch and go. Unfortunately for us
Yeah.
though, our children don't realize that there's some bullshit in this stuff. And so it
Mhm.
just feeds it to them. It kind of reminds me of what's that? Was that the Clockwork Orange or whatever, where they had the guy's eyes pinned open and forced him to watch?
Mhm.
It reminds me of that. Like they're
Yeah.
just sitting there and like force feeding them this ignorant crap.
Mhm.
And they themselves are now producing this ignorant crap and feeding it to each other. And it's just like this
Mhm.
perpetuating idiocy. I don't know. It's so horrible. I
Oh,
hate
it
it.
sounds like Blue Beam and Toronto all wrapped up into one, don't
Yep.
it?
So that'll get us back.
Good
so,
segue.
Jess, do you want to go on more of those Toronto Accords?
Oh, I can. Yeah. So, Surgeman asked, besides Project Bluebeam, so supposedly he was getting all these papers in from these like spies and stuff through the French government and everything, and the Canadian government. And he had these set of, they were called the Toronto Protocols that were brought to him supposedly. And they were released in 1967. Well, not released. I shouldn't say released. They were secret. They were secret papers that he wasn't supposed to have, and they came to his attention in 1967. And it sounds a little far-fetched at first, but stick with me because it gets very scary very fast, and it becomes very real. So supposedly, this plan was being enacted, and it was called "The Fall of the Nations." Was like the subtitle of it. Um, and it was supposedly being put forth by a Masonic type of group called 6.6.6 point. And the reason why it was called that was because it was run by the 6 largest banks in the world, the 6 largest energy groups in the world, and the 6 largest agri-food and pharmaceutical groups in the world. So kind of pentably, when you think about it. And these things are frightening. So the main part of it is called the Bread and Circus Games. And I don't know if you guys know what the Bread and Circus Games. So they used it for a whole bunch of different like Star Trek stuff and everything. But basically, Bread and Circus Games, it was an old Roman phrase that the emperors used to entertain and feed the masses, so they would be distracted while politics were going on. Let's throw games at them and tons of food and festivals, and they won't notice what we're doing back here, kind of like what feels like's going on right now.
Yeah, I think Phil and I talk about bread and circuses a lot.
We do.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go verbatim from some of this.
Okay.
So the Bread and Circuses document, and I'm not going to sit here and read you whole pages or anything. I'm going to read you snippets. I highlighted some of the ones that I thought were very pertinent to what's going on right now. So it says, today we must ensure that the spirit will result from a world society of leisure in all of its forms. To achieve this objective, it is imperative to be able to infiltrate the media, the radio, TV, and newspapers. Now, mind you, this is 1967, so keep this in mind. So, taking under our thumb the sense of young people, the adults of tomorrow. We will therefore open the way to infiltrate and transform profoundly, without raising suspicion, politics, the legal system, and education, which will allow us to fundamentally change the course, the future direction of society envisaged by our plan. The people we know have not historical memory. They tirelessly repeat the mistakes of the past without realizing that these errors had led to their fathers before them into the same descent as they will live in, only worse, before the end of this century. Having known without limits the release of morals and the abolition of morality, in other words, the errancy of the spirit, they experienced the economic crisis and the war. Today, their grandchildren and their children are heading towards a similar conclusion, even worse because this time we will finally establish our new world order. And none of them are able to realize it. They will all be too preoccupied in meeting their overly sensual needs, the very basics. To succeed with certainty to the construction of a new world government, we must first remove the family, which will in turn lead to the loss of religious teachings. And secondly, leveling the individuals by removing the social classes, in particular, the middle classes. But we must proceed so that all of these are seen as being from the popular will, that they have the appearance of democracy. Using isolated cases, but amplifying them to the extreme, using student protests infiltrated by us, journalists sympathetic to our cause, and purchased politicians. We will be able to establish new bodies that have every appearance of modernity, such as the Office for the Protection of Children. We're young. Yeah.
That's getting scary right there. I mean, it's just, it started in 1967 when I was born. And I mean, I can see the freight train gaining speed.
Yep. So we're staff, young intellectuals with no experience, fresh out of universities, will follow to the letter without discernment the charter rights of the child. Who would dare oppose it? This is literally what's written. We will finally wipe out any parental authority by breaking the family into people fiercely opposed to each other to protect their interests. It will encourage children to report parents who are too authoritarian as being too traditional or too religious, in thus transferring to the state the parental role. It will be easier then for us to grab one by one all the responsibilities that had been to date the sole responsibility of the parent. This stuff's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it every day.
Yep.
I can look back through my life and see this building.
Yeah. We will complete the final breaking of the Western family unit. For without the protection and monitoring of their original parents, these children will be permanently handicapped in their psychological and moral development, and consequently represent natural prey, easily adaptable to our global aspirations. For success to be achieved by such an enterprise, it is essential that staff working in these offices in the service of the state are young people without experience, imbued with the stories that we know are empty and ineffectual, and especially are obsessed with the missionary spirit as great protectors of children at risk. For them, all parents must represent potential criminals, potential hazards to the welfare of the child, here considered a god. So we must infiltrate the education system of nations to make disappear under the cover of modern and evolution the teaching of religion, of history, and good manners, while diluting it at the same time under an avalanche of new experiments in the milieu of education, that of language and mathematics, new math, the new English crap. This way, by depriving the younger generations any grounding in any frontier to morals, any knowledge of the past, and therefore any national pride, all respect for others, power through knowledge of language and science, and thus of reality, we will help build a youth largely prepared for all forms of delinquency. In this new world fragmented by fear of parents and their abandonment of any responsibility for their children, we will open the way to train in our own way and according to our primary objectives, a youth where arrogance, contempt, and humiliation of others will be considered as the new basis of affirmation of self and of freedom.
Where have I seen
Does
that
that
before?
sound familiar? Right? And I'm skipping so much stuff. I'm just trying to like grasp at some nuggets here. But this is all that stuff in between that I'm skipping is literally how they're doing it. We'll pass new laws for respect of individual liberties. That's that selfish crap coming back through. To complete the breakup of the family and the education system, therefore the society in general, it is essential to encourage sexual freedom. Here we go. At all levels of Western society, we must reduce the individual and so the masses to an obsession with satisfying their primary instincts by all possible means. We know that this step represents the culmination by which any society will collapse on itself. Was it not so with the Roman Empire from its apogee, like all civilizations throughout history? Men of science and laboratories funded by our lodges, we are able to develop a chemical process that will revolutionize all Western societies. This process, in pill form, will open the door wide to sexual freedom without consequences and push the women of the nations to want to break with what will be seen as the yoke of the past.
Birth control.
So they're saying that they invented birth control to start this. The door open for encouragement. Yeah.
I was going to say something on that.
Go ahead.
I was watching something the other day, and it just come across. It was talking about birth control, and this guy was talking about how women that are not on birth control seem to gravitate. It was a science experiment. Seem to gravitate more towards men whose immune system is basically the opposite of theirs, like strength wise, not weak, but I don't remember exactly how he explained it. But it was compatible, but it was opposite, and it was like 60% of the people in the study. The women were more attracted to the men whose immune system was opposite theirs. Basically, natural selection to create stronger children, immune wise. Whereas women on birth control would choose the same types of immune systems. So in essence, weaker children. But when they came off of birth control to get pregnant, to start raising a family, the women realized, hey, we're not attracted to him, all that. So it's a natural selection type thing.
So that's where you get some of your divorces and whatnot.
That's where a lot of the theories are of the divorce rate being so high, because women are coming off birth control and realizing, hey, this isn't the guy for me. It's kind of weird to think about.
Well, it changes your hormones.
But yeah, it's a hormone-based pill, so it's absolutely. I mean, I was on birth control. I mean, and I was warned of effects that would happen when I came down off of it. I wasn't warned that I might not like my husband anymore, but
fortunately,
luckily for him, I still did.
Very lovable,
right?
Yeah, but okay, so I'm gonna hurry up and like just touch a few of these other things and then finish up. But I really wanted to read some of those parts out loud so you could really grasp how defined these papers are and how true they are. And I mean, since 1967 when he got a hold of them. So still on the whole sexual revolution thing, the door opened for the encouragement of sexual liberty, to divorce, to abortion on demand, to various forms of legal recognition of homosexuality, will help us to fundamentally alter the historical basis of legal rights of societies. And it will be a major push on all individuals towards a general loosening of morals and to divide people against each other.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it keeps going on with all of that. the switching over of powers, blah, blah, blah. To ensure the benefit of our influence with the people, we will control all the media information. Our banks will therefore finance only those that we favor. This is expected to pass almost unnoticed by the people, who will be absorbed by their need to make more money and to buy more entertainment. Right? Basically, they're like, we're going to entertain these people. We're going to let them think that they have all these rights, but really behind their back, we're doing our thing.
Oh,
the second document to the bread games is the Red Dawn document. Now, this document, he didn't come across or was not brought to him until 1985. So it's like the first set of papers were written and sent out to who that was supposed to go to. And then later on in the 80s, a second document was released to go with these. Like, this is how it's going so far. Or this is what we're adding to the plans. So, and I'm just going to read a little snippet from this. So it says, and it says Mr. Rothschild.
Wow, go figure.
Putting that in there. Mr. D. Rothschild, who had intended to finalize the development and global implementation of the computer, is now possible to envisage the establishment on a kind of international highway where all these machines are interconnected. For as you know, direct control of an individual people on the planet would be at least totally impossible without the use of computers and their link electronically with respect to each other in a huge network world. So already in 83, so if you think about it, World Wide Web didn't happen until the late 80s. Mm-hmm. And who invented it? CERN.
Al Gore.
The dudes at CERN started the World Wide Web.
What's his name? I thought he invented it.
Al Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore. Yeah.
So now you're pulling in CERN and all this other stuff. It keeps going on about how well they've been doing, how this is implementing great. Now they have this new computer, this networking thing for computers that they think is just going to take off, and this is how they're going to do it. Scary. Right? So this was in 83 before this had ever gone down.
Right.
It says this is their plans to use with the computer if it goes down like they think it's going to. Number 1, expand the leisure society. By using the invention of the video that we have funded and games attached to it, will end up perverting the morals of our youth.
Ooh. We've talked about it here a while back, but if you look up Yuval Harari, the guy that said, all the useless eaters, that is part of the World Economic Forum plan, is to take all the useless eaters, lock them up basically in their little boxes, put a VR headset on them, and let them play games and drug them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's basically what we've done to our children.
Mm-hmm.
We just let them, nest in that. Another thing is they're going to encourage all student causes because they know what they're talking about. There we go.
Right.
Let us fill that inner void of that youth by initiating from a very young age the world of computers. Use this as its education system, a slave in the service of another slave that we already control. It literally says that right here. It says it. Is that not insane?
See, that makes me
There's
think
a whole
about,
bunch. Yeah.
That makes me sick at my stomach.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking about my little kids, my 6, my 8-year-old. One's in kindergarten and they're already on computers, which I understand, but okay.
Yeah. Step 5, open the doors of immigration to Western countries with a large mass of immigrants entering across their frontiers. Through well-orchestrated press campaigns targeting public opinion in the nation states, we provoke them to accept a large influx of refugees, which will have the effect of destabilizing the domestic economy and increasing racial tensions in their territory. Yep. Free trade.
I'm looking back.
It goes on and on and
all
on.
this shit, and
yeah,
that makes me sick.
Jeez.
Yep.
We bought this crap.
free market economy, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that we are going through right now and we're seeing the start of, like these processes, it's all listed in just perfect, just on and on and on, and how they're doing it and why they're doing it and how it's going. It's just, oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyway, if anybody who's interested in reading these, you can read them in full. It's called the Toronto Protocol. And you can read it for free. You can go onto your Google Books or just type it into your search engine and put free Toronto Protocols, and you can put Surge Manast on there if you want. You don't have to. And it'll pull up all sorts of free ones. And then sit down, with a box of tissues because it's going to make you cry. It's insane. Yeah, I was so livid and scared all at the same time the first time I read this. It's just insane.
Yeah, it gives me the chills. It gives me the chills.
Yeah.
That's a free download here. Wow. That's crazy.
It's really nuts. But I suggest anybody who's listening to this or is going to listen to this or is watching this, please go read them because it is an eye opener. And the sad thing is that Surge Manast was like shot down for these, like ridiculed, and made fun of. And he was very open. I mean, he wasn't, sneaking around and being goofy and making up stuff and like, one of those crazy conspiracy theorists that, would just pop up and be like, he had his own papers and stuff that he put out, and he put them out and was like, listen, these were brought to my attention and everybody needs to read them. He wasn't going around, making a fool of himself. He was literally like, these came into my possession. You need to read them. The world needs to see these. Something's amok and you all need to know.
It's a warning and we need to pay attention.
But unfortunately, he was, died of a heart attack after not having any heart problems in 1996, if I remember right.
Yeah. Well, the whole lead up to that was weird too. The occurrences that happened leading up to that. So they took his children away from him and his wife. He was married. It was just a normal family. They took his daughter and his son away, claiming that them home schooling them was abusive.
Mm-hmm.
So they took them away and put them in a child's home, which can't be more abusive than that.
Right.
And they hauled his butt off to jail. He spent a night in jail, and the next morning when he got home, boom, he was dead of a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another guy, and I can't find his name, so I can't say for certain that this is fact, but I found a lot of it. He apparently had another friend who was also a journalist, not as nearly as well known, but he was kind of helping him with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he died 1 week before he did. He had traveled overseas with some other papers that he had, and he was trying to kind of bring them to light in France. And he died of a sudden heart attack too.
I have his name somewhere, but I don't.
And didn't the CIA have a heart attack again?
Yeah, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because how many people have committed suicide by, shooting themselves in the
back of the head,
tied up, execution style, and
But it was suicide.
Yeah.
Right.
1996. 1996 was the year he died of the supposed heart attack.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is just scratching the surface. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane. Like I said, if anybody listening, please go look it up. It's not long. I think there's like 20 papers to it. Just sit down one afternoon, like you got 30 minutes on your lunch break, pull it up on your phone and read it. Do something good with your phone.
Right. Wow, that's crazy.
It's my mind.
I'm speechless. Yeah, I'm speechless.
It's crazy.
I can't believe not more people talk about it. I mean, blue beam is very important if there's any truth to it at all. But it's actually like that afterthought of the Toronto papers.
Yeah.
It goes along with it. It's like
It's
another
the end
step.
game. Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
sounds like blue beam is the end game.
It really is. Like, and everybody's all blue beam right now because of all the alien stuff and everything, but they
Right.
really need to step back and look even further and be like, because this is going on too. If any of it's to be believed, it's all going on at the same time. And holy cow. And it literally read it because it's shocking how detailed it is to our days. It's as if there was a time traveler, like somebody time traveled to now.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it
wrote down
sounds
everything
just
that was
like our
happening.
headlines right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's frightening.
I found that, but what
Yeah.
it says here is supporters of the theory allege that Monast and another unnamed journalist, who both died of heart attacks in '96, were in fact assassinated.
Yeah,
And
I
that the
couldn't ever
Canadian
find his
government
name.
Kidnapped. I thought I had it. I guess I don't.
Well, there's one guy, and I'm not going to say
his.
his name because I can't prove that it's him. It did mention a friend of his, another journalist friend of his, throughout different times where they were doing other things. His name kept popping back up, but I'm not going to say that it was him.
Yeah.
But he's also not brought up again after '96, so I have a very good feeling it was probably this friend of his. But I'm not going to say a name if, I don't want to be wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Sad that not very many people know who he is. I didn't know a whole lot about Blue Beam before you guys decided to do the show.
I didn't either.
I knew a bit, and I hadn't heard of the Toronto papers, but I had heard that this dude had always kind of been involved with this kind of conspiracy theory paper kind of stuff. So it was really interesting to me to get to go and kind of find all that. And
it's interesting to note that the CIA invented the term tinfoil hat and conspiracy theory, and that the things that they invented them about turned out to be absolutely true.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yep.
When they say
you know what? We should get rid of the word conspiracy. I hate conspiracy theory because there's a lot of them that have been true. And when you tack conspiracy on it, your brain automatically wants to shut it out. And wants to go,
that's part of that's part of that protocol.
Right.
Yeah. We should come up with a different term or something for it and quit using conspiracy theory. Just like I refuse to use the new UFO term.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it. No.
Yep.
Yes, let's think of a good thing to call that.
Let's call it, instead of conspiracy theory, let's call it like intriguing theories
Future news
or something. Future news.
Well,
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Like a theory until
it is. It's future news.
I like that. Future news.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Coincidence.
Oh, yeah, my wife put coincidence noticer.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. That's good.
There you
go. Oh, yeah, I think that's a good spot to leave it. I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, and really, I want to look more into this.
Night. This is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a heated topic. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And Phil, you found that on Internet Archive. Is that where you found the Toronto papers?
Yes.
Or protocols?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's free.
Yeah,
download.
like I said, you can find them just about anywhere. And I actually I downloaded a Kindle version of it off of Amazon. I think it was like $2 or something like that, because I wanted to be able to sit there and highlight stuff and make comments to myself and everything. So I usually just download a Kindle. So if you want the Kindle version of it, it's like $2 or $3 automatic download. So please read it. Everybody, please go read it.
If you go to Internet Archive, sometimes they do have the Kindle download. I can't remember what it is. It's not Mobi. What is it? The Kindle version of the download. They usually have it there. They may have it on there.
Yeah. Either way, go read it.
Can't remember what it's called.
Wow.
My whole night has been like, I can't remember what it's called. Let me
Yeah.
go look it up.
That's me every day.
I figure,
That's
I
me
think
having a conversation. It was like, the thing.
the thing with the
Starts
thing.
with an O.
Yeah, I figure. Okay, so everybody, please read it. Sit down for your lunch break and read it, because you're going to get one or two things out of this. Either one, you're going to get the crap scared out of you, and you realize that you need to open your eyes, and there's some stuff going on around that we've never even considered. Or number two, you're going to realize that some dude could really see into the future and was just writing down what he was seeing in his visions. So which one is true? It's frightening. What I read off tonight.
Either way,
was
it's frightening.
Just little sections that I chose because I thought they'd hit the hardest, but it's all in there. And there's more than what I read. So check it out.
Yeah, y'all go check it out. I mean, it's the Toronto Protocols. Look it up. I'm gonna do it myself, and that way I can grasp everything.
We may talk about this on the.
May have to.
On the news and preparedness show. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it
fit right
ties in. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, I mean, thanks again for hanging out with us. Pam, Jess, we always appreciate you guys. Hey, you guys got some news too. I mean, have you guys got details to share, or you want to wait?
We have a few details we could share.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Jess is like, yeah.
Kind of.
We are going to launch our own podcast. And we did decide on a name. It's going to be Bordertown Strange. We're going to do deep dives, kind of like what we've been doing on Fringe with some stuff. And hopefully our plan is to have it out within 2 months. So that's the goal. We'll see if we can.
Yeah, we're going to try to have guests on, and of course we'll have you guys on too, and some of our team. And we're just going to do deep dives on all sorts of insanity and fun.
Yeah.
And hopefully it works.
Let us know.
Yeah,
let us know.
I'm up anytime you want me.
We're excited.
Definitely let us know, and we'll promote you and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm sure. Have you let Big Willie know?
Not yet, but I intend to.
Yeah.
He probably knows now.
He'll be excited. Yeah, he'll be excited.
But no, when you guys get more details firmed up, a good date, man, let us know. We'll share it out there. So
awesome.
Cool.
Definitely. Again, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and carrying the bulk of the research. I'm sure your back's hurt after doing a show with us. So
that would be Jess tonight.
Yeah, Jess carried it tonight.
Jess carried it tonight.
She's on it.
It just
MVP award.
Yay! I carry the torch.
But again, ladies, thanks again. Everybody listening, watching, all that, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for joining the comment section. We enjoy seeing the comments and the interaction. It makes it so much better with you guys interacting with us. But with that being said, keep an ear out for this coming or next Monday. Joe from UFO Garage will be on there. Then I'm trying to get. I got to reach out to him yet. Trying to get Gary Voorhees on, and it's not going to be a UFO show though.
No.
Interesting.
We're going to talk permaculture.
Just in time for the spring planting season.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Believe it or not, we're Jess was getting excited for a second.
Yay!
Having two UFO guys and talk about permaculture.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
But no. Yep, Joe's already committed. The last time he jumped on with us, it turned out to be a really good show, really informative. Some ideas that he talked about. Thanks, Tim. He said he's enjoying the show. A lot of the ideas that he talked about, my wife and I are trying to implement now, and the new growing season, all that good stuff. But figure, we'll do it again, kind of refresh it, maybe some questions, and actually talk to somebody that's also growing in that lifestyle too, because something I wanted to bring up earlier, and this may drag on a little bit longer now. I noticed there's tons of people waking up, and I think that's the only thing that's going to shut down this whole Toronto protocol thing or whatever. It's people waking up and coming together.
Yeah, and we've talked about that with Frank.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a lot of us wanting the same on things that you're hearing. It's just different people are calling it something different.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. But anyway, we'll save that for another show. And again, ladies, thanks for hanging out with us. And everybody else, we appreciate you. And we'll catch you all next episode.
Good night.